So, a lot of people were in their feelings when they saw Solange's tribute to Hayden Panettiere, and so many people definitely believe she was trying to communicate something, just like Hayden was trying to communicate something 3 months ago.
I worked so hard to create this incredible life and career, and I burnt it all to the ground. Don't believe what you see in a picture. There's so much more going on, so much more. For the first time, I was able to put into words what has been going on for the past decade.
Think about it. Rest in peace, Hayden. In peace, because you are so deserving of it. We had so many parallels in our lives, and the world watched you so courageously live in your radical truth, telling your story. We watched your endless quest for vulnerability and healing. I salute your journey, and I honor the work we created together that became something that really means something to people, reaching people we couldn't have ever imagined at the time, as two young girls trying to keep looking to the light. The light surrounds you now. Rest easy, Hayden. To a casual reader, it's a sweet note between two former co-stars who filmed Bring It On, All or Nothing back in 2006. But to anyone who knows how Hollywood works and how Solange operates, people believe this wasn't just a tribute. They believe it was a coded warning about what really goes on behind closed doors. So, what exactly was Solange trying to communicate about Hayden's death? That's exactly what we are going to figure out. Okay, so we got the news that on August 16th, Hayden Panettiere had passed, and immediately people started saying that it doesn't make any sense, especially since only 3 months ago, she was on Jay Shetty's podcast, where she revealed she had a friend that she trusted, and that friend that she trusted brought her into a room with a very famous guy. Hayden doesn't reveal his name. People think it's James Blunt, but she said he was very famous, and then this famous guy wanted her to do things involving yatching. This is actually in addition to other dark things she revealed about Hollywood. Then, literally weeks later, she dies because of an OD? See, first responders found her unresponsive in cardiac arrest at a residence in Greenville, South Carolina. And the Greenville Police Department and the Greenville County Coroner's Office reported that an initial autopsy showed no signs of physical trauma or foul play. However, how many times do we see this in Hollywood, where celebrities or actors or singers die from an OD? This is literally the easiest thing to cover up in case they want somebody gone for good. So you literally cannot blame anyone for believing there was possibly foul play. And you know who was the first person to come to mind? Hayden's on and off boyfriend, Brian Hickerson. See, official incident reports confirm Hickerson and his brother Zach were present at the South Carolina residence when emergency services responded to the 911 call, and that he is even the one who handed over a bag of medications to responding officers. Guys, we are talking about someone who has a documented history of DV, including his 2021 no contest plea to charges, a 5-year protective order, and Hayden's personal reflections detailed in her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning. Actually, in the book, Hayden talked of an instance where Hickerson roughed her up so badly that she did not leave the house for weeks. She wrote that she hesitated to report the incident to the police because she didn't want the public to find out. In addition, there have been reports that Hayden had a secret romance with Brian Hickerson's brother, and both men were at the scene where she died. So of course, people were going to suspect that he was somehow involved in her death. Was this a love triangle gone wrong? I don't know. It doesn't help that Hayden's mother, Leslie Vogel, publicly voiced her frustration and grief regarding Brian Hickerson's presence, explicitly stating that the family had been trying to separate him from Hayden for quite some time. In her words, this person in her life that we have been trying to get rid of for quite some time was with her at her death, and that was Brian Hickerson. I think Hayden was an amazingly talented person in so many departments, and I think young people who grow up in the entertainment industry, it is a struggle, and it's a very challenging industry, and it's not unusual for them to sadly find the wrong path. Well, the situation with the mom is also very tricky, because it's not like she has had the best relationship with Hayden. I mean, Hayden actually fired her mother as her manager years ago, hoping to finally build a real mother-daughter bond instead of a business arrangement. But according to Hayden, once the money trail stopped, the relationship completely fell apart. In fact, Hayden talked about being left alone with men her mother barely knew, how her claims of being mistreated were dismissed, and how she felt pushed into the spotlight just to keep the paychecks coming.
When I was 19, I finally got up the courage to split from her as business-wise because I desperately wanted a relationship with her, desperately wanted her to just be my mom. And so she came into my trailer during lunch when we were filming Heroes, and I said to her, I don't want us to work together anymore. I just want you to be my mom. I also wasn't expecting the reaction that I got, which was, "You owe me." And that's all she said. And she walked out. And part of me was like, oh, I'm relieved that it was short, like ripped the Band-Aid off. But then it was like this dark looming cloud, over my head going, what does she mean by I owe her?
So when her mother released a statement that many described as sounding colder than a formal press release, people weren't buying it. And pointing fingers at the toxic boyfriend now feels like a classic attempt to dodge accountability for the damage that was done decades ago by her. And as far as what she had to go through in Hollywood in the hands of the execs, Hayden opened up about being handed happy pills as early as 15 years old, just to walk red carpets without panicking. And by her 20s, the alcohol and opioids weren't just for partying, they were the only way she knew how to function. But hold on, 15? Who was in charge of this set? How do you hand a literal baby controlled substances so she can smile for the paparazzi and then act shocked when things unravel later?
And how many other teen stars were given the exact same prescription just to keep the machine running?
Anyway, she also talked about how after giving birth to her daughter Kaya in 2014, extreme postpartum depression hit. To make matters worse, her Nashville character was written with the exact same storyline, forcing her to relive her real-life trauma every single day on camera. Imagine suffering in silence, showing up to work, and the script page literally mirror imaging your worst mental health breakdown. Talk about zero safe spaces and unhinged exploitation by the showrunners. Speaking of her daughter, by the way, Hayden was also forced to send Kaya to live in Ukraine with her father, but she clarified that it wasn't a casual agreement, and she was essentially backed into signing over full custody while in active recovery, believing it was temporary. Wow. Like, how does a mother even begin to heal when the system penalizes her for seeking help for her addiction instead of supporting her? As if this wasn't hard enough, she was literally on the brink of death at 28 because her body completely gave out. Her eyes turned yellow, her liver was failing, and doctors told her that her body was shutting down permanently if she didn't stop immediately. However, even after getting clean and facing the sudden, devastating loss of her brother Jansen in 2023, Hayden was somehow still standing, putting the pieces back together and speaking out to set the record straight. This is why some people are saying that her death is giving silencing or foul play, alleging she was exposing too much about powerful industry figures. And that brings us back to Solange and her tribute. To understand what Solange meant by parallels, you have to go back to 2005 on the set of Bring It On, when both Solange and Hayden were teenagers entering the peak of their youth in an industry dominated by adult executives. In Hayden's 2026 memoir and recent interviews, she revealed a horrific detail, which is that when she was just 15 years old, someone on her management team handed her happy pills before red carpets to keep her energized and smiling, and that single act ignited a decades-long struggle with dependency. Solange was there when this was going on, and she saw it all. Honey, Solange knows that exact machine, and after coming up in the music industry alongside her sister Beyoncé, she has fought relentlessly for her independence, often speaking out against systemic exploitation in entertainment. And when Solange says, "We watched you so courageously live in your radical truth," fans believe she's referring to Hayden recently naming names, calling out former managers, and refusing to let Hollywood sweep her trauma under the rug. Also her saying, "Rest in peace, because you are so deserving of it." Why emphasize deserving peace? Solange is clearly pointing out that Hayden was never allowed peace while alive because the industry kept pulling her back down. In addition, Solange closed her statement with, "Two young girls, trying to keep looking to the light. The light surrounds you now." Here's the thing. In Hollywood, looking to the light has always been seen as code for staying uncorrupted in a toxic environment. We know that Solange has always been the sister who stepped back from mainstream pop culture to protect her mind and art. And Hayden tried to do the same, but the machine caught up with her through media scrutiny, custody battles, and continuous trauma. So, was there foul play in the legal sense? Is this what Solange is
is saying? The official investigation is still looking into toxicology, but in the structural sense, the fans analyzing Solange's tribute believe the answer is a resounding yes. Hayden Panettiere spent her final months trying to tell her story on her own terms while she was exposing everything, including how girls are forced into yachting. And Solange's tribute served as a reminder that the world watched a young girl get broken by an industry that profits off youth, only to offer condolences when it's too late. Yes, it's possible that Hayden just OD'd. It's possible, but don't you think the timing is weird? I don't know. Maybe we are all overthinking, but let me know what you think of Solange's tribute in the comments section below.